She spent 3 years making herself smaller so he could feel bigger. She stopped wearing color, stopped smiling in public, stopped being herself, all to please a man who was already planning her replacement. But the night Matilda walked into that ballroom dressed in gold, like even the chandeliers seemed to bow. Before we begin, have you ever sacrificed who you are just to keep someone who never deserved you? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you love stories that hit different, like this video and subscribe. Because this one, it's going to hurt before it heals. Matilda used to love the color red. She used to walk into rooms like she owned the air inside them. Bold earrings, bright anchor prints, laughter that arrived before she did. That was the Matilda who grew up in Lagos, who danced at every cousin's wedding, who believed love was supposed to feel like music. That Matilda disappeared slowly, quietly, the way a candle dies, not all at once, but one flicker at a time. Now she stood in a pale beige kitchen in Seoul, stirring jollof rice she had learned to cook with less pepper, because Juchan said the smell was too aggressive. She wore a plain gray dress, no earrings, no lipstick. Her natural hair was pulled back tightly the way he preferred. She had changed everything about herself, and he still came home looking through her like glass. "You're wearing that again?" Juchan said, dropping his coat on the chair she had just cleaned. Matilda didn't answer immediately. She set the spoon down carefully. "I didn't know we were going somewhere," she said softly. "We're not." He loosened his tie. "I just thought you'd try sometimes." Try. The word landed like a small stone in still water. She had been trying for 3 years, trying to be quieter, trying to be neater, trying to become whatever shape would finally make him look at her the way he used to. Juchan Park was not a man people crossed lightly. As one of Seoul's most powerful, underground figures, he moved through the city with the authority of someone who had never once been told no. His organization controlled private contracts, security firms, and influence that stretched far beyond what any legal title could explain. But at home, with Matilda, he had simply grown cold. He picked up his phone and walked toward the bedroom without another word. Matilda turned back to the stove. Outside the window, Seoul glittered like a jewelry box left open. She pressed one hand flat against her chest, feeling her own heartbeat, and whispered to no one. "I remember who I was." Her name was Yuna, and she arrived in Juchan's life the way a storm does. Beautiful from a distance, destructive up close. They met at a private underground auction where Juchan's organization was brokering a security contract. Yuna was there representing a luxury consulting firm, or so she claimed. She wore a black silk dress that moved like water. Her laugh was calculated. Her eyes were always scanning, always measuring. Juchan noticed her immediately. She walked up to him first. Most people waited for him to approach. That alone intrigued him. "You're Park Juchan," she said, not as a question. "And you already know that," he replied. She smiled. "I make it my business to know powerful men." That sentence alone told him everything, and nothing. He should have walked away. Instead, he stayed. They talked for 2 hours. She never once checked her phone. She made him feel like the only person in the room. When he came home that night, Matilda had waited up. She had made his favorite, doenjang jjigae with extra mushrooms. The table was set. Soft music played. Juchan sat down, ate 3 spoonfuls, and said, "I met someone interesting tonight, a consultant, very sharp." Matilda looked up. Something cold moved through her chest. "What kind of consulting?" she asked carefully. "The kind that understands my world," he said flatly. He didn't look at her once while he said it. Matilda cleared the table quietly, her hands steady even as her heart wasn't. She washed the dishes alone, the warm water running over her fingers, and thought about the way his voice had changed when he said interesting. Not a word he had used about her in a very long time. The changes came quietly at first. Juchan started leaving earlier, coming home later. His phone, which he used to leave carelessly on the counter, now went everywhere with him. even to the bathroom. Matilda noticed. She always noticed. But she had learned inside this marriage that noticing too loudly came with consequences. One evening she asked, "Are you happy, Juchan?" He looked at her from across the room like the question confused him. "Why are you asking me that?" "Because you feel far away." He exhaled slowly. "I'm tired, Matilda. I don't have energy for emotional conversations." She nodded and said nothing more. But 2 nights later, she found a receipt in his jacket pocket. A restaurant she had never been to. A place with a private dining section. 2 glasses of champagne. 1 dessert, shared. She held the receipt for a long time, standing in the dim closet light, her breathing measured and slow. She didn't confront him. Not because she was weak, but because some part of her already knew, and wasn't ready to hear him confirm it with his cold, unbothered voice. Instead, she called her sister back in Lagos. "Titi," she said when the call connected, "do you ever feel like you vanished inside someone else's life?" There was a pause. Then Titi said firmly, "Come home, Matilda." "I can't." "Why?" Matilda looked at her reflection in the dark window. The gray dress, the bare face, the tight hair. "Because I keep thinking if I just try harder." "He doesn't deserve harder," Titi interrupted. "He deserves less of you, not more." Matilda ended the call, sat on the edge of the bed, and cried without making a single sound. Juchan didn't come home for 3 days. When he finally walked through the door, he was wearing a suit she didn't recognize. Expensive. New. He smelled like a different perfume. He sat across from Matilda at the kitchen table and folded his hands like he was about to close a business deal. "I want a divorce," he said. No buildup, no apology. Just 4 words dropped like a contract on a desk. Matilda stared at him. Her jaw was tight. Her hands were flat on the table. "Is it Una?" she asked. He didn't flinch. "It doesn't matter who it is. What matters is that this marriage stopped working." "For you," she said quietly. "It stopped working for you." "Matilda, did I ever complain?" Her voice stayed low, but something sharp lived inside it. "Did I ever ask you for too much? I changed myself completely for you, Juchan. I became someone I didn't recognize, and you still chose to leave." He looked at her with an expression that was worse than anger. It was indifference. "You're a good woman," he said. You'll be, fine. You'll be fine." Like she was a minor inconvenience being resolved. Matilda stood up slowly. She walked to the window and looked out at Seoul, the city that had swallowed 3 years of her life. Then she turned around. "Okay," she said. "Just that. 1 word." Juchan blinked. He had expected tears, begging, drama. She gave him none of it. "I'll have my lawyer contact yours," she said calmly. Then she walked to the bedroom, closed the door gently, and sat on the floor against the bed, pressing both hands to her mouth so he wouldn't hear her break. Has anyone ever made you feel invisible inside your own life? Comment below. And keep watching, because Matilda is just getting started. The apartment Matilda moved into was small, 6th floor, one window facing east so the morning sun arrived first. She had almost nothing, but for the first time in 3 years, everything in the space was hers. She unpacked slowly, and at the bottom of the last box she found it, a photograph from her cousin's wedding in Lagos. She was 26 in the picture, wearing a deep orange dress, laughing with her whole body, gold earrings catching the light. She stood there holding that photograph for a long time. That woman still exists, she thought. She started small. She bought Ankara fabric from a West African store downtown Seoul. The owner, a Nigerian woman named Blessing, recognized her accent immediately and hugged her like family. "You look like someone who just survived something," Blessing said. "I did," Matilda replied. "Then you need color," Blessing said, pressing bright fabric into her hands. Slowly, Matilda rebuilt. She returned to the international NGO where she had volunteered before Ju-chan asked her to stop. She started cooking with full pepper again. She relearned her own laugh. One afternoon, she stood in front of her mirror and looked, really looked, at herself. She picked up her red lipstick, uncapped it, applied it slowly, then she found her gold earrings buried in a pouch at the back of a drawer. She put them on, and the woman in the mirror looked back at her. Not broken, not small, not beige. Matilda. Somewhere across the city, Ju-chan was introducing Yuna at a rooftop dinner as the most captivating woman he'd ever met. He had no idea what was coming. Yuna moved into Ju-chan's penthouse 6 weeks after the divorce was finalized. She redecorated immediately. White everything. Cold and clinical. Every trace of warmth gone. Ju-chan told himself this was sophistication. At public events, Yuna was magnetic. She wore designer pieces, held conversations with powerful guests effortlessly, and made Ju-chan feel like the most important man in any room. His associates complimented him constantly. "She's remarkable. You're a lucky man." He believed every word. What he didn't see was what happened the moment attention shifted away from her. Yuna never asked about his day. She asked about his accounts. She never asked what he felt. She asked what he owned. Her questions were always wrapped in charm. Soft voice, direct eyes, a hand on his arm. So he never noticed the pattern. She had a contact. A man named Lee who handled quiet financial movements for people who needed money relocated without questions. Over several weeks, Yuna began making small requests of Ju-chan. A shared investment account here. Access to an overseas fund there. She framed everything as partnership, as trust. And Ju-chan, who had dismantled rival organizations with cold precision, handed her the keys because she made him feel chosen. Meanwhile, his most trusted lieutenant, a quiet man named Dae-jung, began noticing irregularities, small transfers, unfamiliar account numbers appearing in transaction logs. He brought it to Ju-chan once, carefully. Ju-chan dismissed him. "Yuna handles some of our international outreach. Don't question it." Dae-jung said nothing more, but he started keeping records. Because men like Dae-jung knew one truth about powerful men like Ju-chan. The ones who never got deceived by enemies always got destroyed by the people they trusted most. The invitation arrived at Matilda's apartment on a Tuesday morning. The Horizon Foundation Charity Gala, Seoul's most prestigious annual fundraiser. Her NGO had been nominated for an award recognizing outstanding community education work across Asia. Matilda's name was specifically listed as a honoree. She read it twice. Then she called Blessing. "I need a gown," she said. "What color?" Blessing asked. Matilda didn't hesitate. "Gold." The night of the gala, luxury cars lined the entrance of the Grand Joseon Hotel. Cameras flashed. Guests moved in a river of silk and diamonds. Yuna arrived first beside Ju-chan, wearing a stunning white gown with silver embellishments. She looked breathtaking and she knew it. As they entered, conversations paused. Guests complimented her. Ju-chan felt proud. Yuna leaned close to him and whispered, "I think I'm the most beautiful woman here tonight." He smiled. "You are?" She believed it completely. 40 minutes into the evening, the ballroom doors opened again, and everything changed. Matilda walked in wearing a handcrafted gold gown that moved like liquid sunlight. Her natural hair was styled magnificently, full, proud, adorned with a subtle gold pin. Her skin glowed with deep, rich melanin that the ballroom lights caught like she had been made for exactly this moment. Gold earrings, quiet confidence, no urgency, no performance. She simply arrived. The room noticed immediately. Conversations dropped mid-sentence. Heads turned. Someone near the entrance actually whispered, "Who is that?" A photographer moved toward her without being asked. Across the room, Yuna felt the shift before she saw the cause. She followed the gazes and froze. Juchan turned to see what everyone was looking at. His breath stopped. Matilda? Juchan couldn't move. The woman crossing. That ballroom floor was Matilda. And yet she was someone he had never truly seen before. Radiant, unhurried, commanding the room simply by existing inside it. Guests gravitated toward her naturally. The foundation director embraced her warmly. People laughed with her, photographed her. She was luminous and she wasn't even trying. Beside him, Yuna's smile had gone stiff. "You're staring," she said quietly. "I know her," Juchan said. His voice was strange, hollow. "Your ex-wife," Yuna said flatly. "Don't embarrass yourself?" But Juchan couldn't look away, because he suddenly remembered something. The last night before the divorce. Matilda standing at the window, one word, okay, no tears, no begging, just quiet dignity that he had mistaken for weakness. It wasn't weakness. It was power she was saving. Then Daijung appeared at his shoulder, expression grave. "Boss, we need to talk. Now." In a private corridor outside the ballroom, Daijung opened his phone and showed Juchan the records he had been quietly keeping for weeks. Transfer after transfer. Yuna's contact, Lee, identified. 3 offshore accounts. The total missing, staggering. Juchan stood completely still, reading every line. "She's been moving your money for 2 months, Daejung said. "Tonight might be the last night before she disappears." Juchan walked back into the ballroom. He looked at Yuna, really looked at her, and for the first time he saw past the silk dress and the perfect smile. He saw calculation, he saw performance. He walked to her calmly. "Give me your phone." Her eyes flickered, just once, but it was enough. "Why?" "Now, Yuna." The phone confirmed everything. Sometimes the woman a man throws away becomes the greatest thing he ever lost. Has someone ever realized your worth too late? Comment below. And if this story moved you, share it. Someone needs to see this today. Security escorted Yuna out through a side entrance. No scene, no drama. Juchan had built his empire on clean, quiet precision, and he dismantled her the same way. She was gone within minutes. Across the ballroom, Matilda had just received her foundation award. She stood at the podium, gold gown catching every light, and spoke about the children her NGO had reached across 3 countries. Her voice was steady, warm, powerful. The room gave her a standing ovation. Juchan stood at the back, watching. His chest felt like something old and heavy was finally breaking open inside it. After the ceremony, he crossed the room toward her. She saw him coming. She didn't step back, didn't tense. She simply waited. "Matilda," he said. "Juchan," she replied. Calm, equal. "You look," he paused, searching for a word large enough. "I don't have the right words." "You never did," she said. "Not with cruelty, just truth." He exhaled. "I made the worst mistake of my life. I know that doesn't change anything." "It doesn't," she agreed. "But I need you to know that I see you, the real you. I think I always did. I was just too blind and too proud to honor it." Matilda studied him for a long moment. "I'm not the woman you divorced, Juchan. She's gone. I found someone better. Myself." He nodded slowly. "I know. And she's extraordinary." Something softened in her eyes. Not surrender. Consideration. "Buy me a drink," she said finally, "and we'll see." He smiled, the first real smile in months. The gold gown caught the light as she turned, and this time Matilda led the way.